And for daily, Swiftly thought, giving your perspective on teamwork, you will not get anywhere. So we do not teach you how to rise to the occasion, folks. We teach you how to fall to your level of preparation. In South Florida, I believe, there's going to be a cold front coming this week. So, knocked out a quick solid 2 miles. And, gonna get back into it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this out. This is just a preview of what we're going to be talking about on the live stream, which is all about, again, we have there's two things going on. There is the Make Your Move Monday, which we do every single Monday, but then there's the final Monday of every month in which I get my goals. Let's see how I did last month with my goals, put my goals publicly out there, and that's part of the system that we run around here. Is making sure I'm giving myself an honest letter grade in terms of how I did with goals, what the goals were, the point of making the goals, and then we're going to tie that into a conversation about the Make Your Move Monday kickoff question, which is dealing with ambiguity and why it will destroy your business. Just so you get a clear definition of it, ambiguity is just not having a clear policy, a clear set of rules, and a clear person to go to when you need things done, right? So when you talk about ambiguity and you talk about the world we live in, again, I'll do a deeper dive about all of this in the live stream, when you talk about the world that we live in, where there's options literally at our fingertips, this right here is something that is going to creep into your business regardless of whether you want it to creep into your business or not. Right? As the advancements of technology grow and younger people get options towards what it is they want to do, and they're teaching older folks how to use those options to benefit them, and they can connect them in a certain way. It's going to create a problem in your business when you're talking about creating a solid system, creating a solid concrete policy, and creating things that need to be followed no matter what. And last week, as we discussed front team workers, and we talked about the importance of them, this is equally important to go hand in hand, because when it comes to front team workers and building a foundation, just like you see these buildings here, and whether it's these buildings, whatever it is, or this car, you can't run a business. You can't run a business without having these foundational pieces and these foundational policies. And if they're open to interpretation, if they're open to, this one wants to do it this way because this one came from this one, and this one doesn't like this one, and this one's not done, this one, all that other bullshit, you've got to remove it from your business. And we're going to discuss all about how to do that between today and Top 5 Tuesday tomorrow. We're going to be discussing how to remove ambiguity out of your business and diving deeper into the goals for this month, how I did with the goals for this month, and then jumping into the goals for March. So again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this out. I'm gonna go in, shower up, and then jump on the live stream to really do a deeper dive on this. Main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I do. It's makeyourmove.com. It's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, the one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk.
Good morning, good afternoon, folks. Again, like you heard, as one Crookshank here, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, current 6-time published author and educator. I created this whole business, this whole brand that's all about taking the innovative teamwork that you learn on the football field and applying them to businesses and business owners, staff, and or a group of employees that moves as efficiently, as coherently, as passionately as a championship, baby. You see what I'm all about, the championship high school or youth football team. Yes, and if you are new around here, just know I am a huge diehard Michigan Wolverines football fan. It was interesting watching the basketball game this weekend when they played Duke. Now, when it comes to basketball, Michigan is my third team. I'm from Maryland, so when it comes to basketball, this is the opportunity to really talk our shit. So when it comes to basketball, it's Georgetown, the Maryland Terrapins, and then obviously, Michigan. I'll root for Michigan because I'm such a big fan of the football team. And I really love, I was a little bit before my time, but the story of the Fab Five and, Jalen Rose and Chris Webber and the boys, man, Juwan Howard, like that story between that, Georgetown, and then the fact that I grew up in Maryland when we won that national championship with Juan Dixon and Lonnie Baxter, so those are my three teams. Again, I gotta own it. I'm not one of these fair weather fans. If Georgetown basketball is my team, that's my team. No matter how shitty they've been for the I don't know, decades, over a decade. They have been absolutely shitty, but I'm still claiming them as my team, right? And that's what real fandom is supposed to be like. So all that being said, let's jump into today's topic. We got a couple things to do today. We're going to introduce the theme this week. We're going to introduce a theme, which is ambiguity and why it's absolutely destroying your business. But also, most importantly, I'm going to actually practice what I preach and talk you guys through how I did with my goals, give myself a letter grade the last Monday. Yes, believe it or not, it is the last Monday of February, the last Monday of every month, and it goes by fast. All right. The last Monday of every month, I go back and look at the goals that I had for the previous month, and then we set some goals. We see how I did, and then we set some goals going on for this month. All right. So before we get into that, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the things I do, all things innovative teamwork, all things employee development. It is makeyourmove.com. It's MAKEYAMOVE.com. As you can see here, just look at all the speaking topics, all the little things I'm a part of, not little things, major things, things that are actually completely change the trajectory for your business. Make sure you get a copy of my newest book, How to Be a Wintrepreneur. Right now, it is only $20 to get on the sign-up sheet. It's going to be a collection. Well, it's going to be an 8-step process on how to be a wintrepreneur, a term that yours truly came up with, but also it'll be those 8 clear steps, but also it'll be a collection of these Medium articles that I go over every Monday and Tuesday. There's multiple articles that come out every single day, and it's well over 400 or 500 at this point. Jesus, it's a lot of articles. Let me see real quick. Yeah, where am I? It is 100. How many? Yeah, it's a lot of. I'm showing you guys my earnings here. Let me not show that too much. Yes, there's hundreds of articles on this particular on my Medium account. So see, I'm trying to see if they got something here where I can see. Yes, there are stories. Yes, 472. That's the number. Yeah, 472 articles on my Medium account. So what I've decided to do, again, you're going to hear me kind of allude to this in terms of how to use AI, is I'm going to take these and turn them into an actual physical book. After I put you on those clear 8 steps, though, it's one thing to just read information. It's another thing to actually get these steps on with the foundational pieces on how you need to do something. And then you take in the stories, and then you start to see yourself in certain stories. That's what has to happen. So make sure you get a copy. Get on the list of how to be a wintrepreneur. Again, a term that your one and only coined, all right, yours truly coined, and it's all about the person that has a strong entrepreneurial vision for their life is lucky enough or has been fortunate enough to find a job that aligns with that entrepreneurial vision. Again, you're listening to someone that has been in multiple positions and has had multiple positions in which they've been in alignment with my entrepreneurial vision. And that's why, again, I wrote the book on entrepreneurship. I wrote the book on wintrepreneur. This is what we do around here. And again, yes, you normally hear the term entrepreneur, but because I'm a football guy, because I'm a sports guy, I have to put my own spin to things. You put a W in front of it, it's a wintrepreneur, baby. It's wintrepreneur, right? So all that being said, let's jump into the article. I know I gotta keep myself disciplined and give myself a hard out in the third. Oh wait, where am I? That's what the buttons are. I got to give myself a hard out when I get the 30 minutes because I have an appointment to get all of this shaved off. I usually don't let my hair grow this long, but I had to do what I had to do this weekend. And because my barber had a situation, so we had to push it back to Monday morning. So here we are. Let's get it. Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. What is ambiguity and how it will destroy your business? And yes, that photo, the reason I went with that photo is because we are I think it is actually this weekend, and I may go out there. I'm starting my boxing classes. I'm starting my boxing classes this weekend, so I won't have time to actually be there for the 5K. But this was the event. This is the flag. This is the number one fundraiser in the National Football League. And what got me to move to South Florida was the job with the Miami Dolphins Foundation. And as I grew and developed in that organization, I was with them for 2 seasons. I was one of the top sellers for 2 seasons. what they decided to do is they decided to merge the Miami Dolphins Foundation, and they merged it with something called the Dolphins Cancer Challenge. And the Dolphins Cancer Challenge is the #1 fundraiser in the NFL. So I know it from the participation standpoint. I know it from the person that was fundraising, and it just fits so well when it comes to ambiguity and when it comes to the understanding of, if you're gonna do something, you gotta, yes, it's important to leave room for innovation, but it has to be a very specific element, a very specific way in which you do things. So I've run the 5K with them. I mean, me and Javier still have a relationship with Javier to this day, who's taken over the organization. It is absolutely the right thing to do. And just so you guys know, I initially signed up during this bike ride. I initially signed up to, just ride along. I was going to try to build out my own team, but then I started doing the training bike rides at Max Cycle in Miami. And then Max Cycle was like, look, just join the team with us. And then, I just decided to join them, and it was a great ride. It was like a 30-mile ride from Miami all the way to Miami Gardens, the Hard Rock Stadium. It was a good event. It was a good time. Looking forward to getting back into it and stuff like that. I did it. Like I said, I did it. I usually, so the photo shoot that you see me, actually, I'm getting off topic. This photo right here, if you could, let me zoom in. Let's see if this one right here. I did a photo shoot right there after I did that 5K. So anyway, let's jump into it. Because like I said, I got a heart out. All right, what is ambiguity and why it will quietly destroy your business? All right, let's define it clearly. Ambiguity, lack of clear structure, expectations, and accountability. To be 100% clear, you're reading this in 2026. Is the last week of February 2026. Ambiguity is not going away. With the amount of information at everyone's fingertips and now AI processing. See, here's the thing. We have information out there. We've always had a lot of information out there, but now we have AI that is processing information for us, basically working as if it's our assistant. We're getting AI to work for us. Again, I'm doing the same thing. So now you don't have to sift through all the information that's at our fingertips. You put in the right question, you put in the right prompt, and the information that you want comes back to you, the information that you actually need. All right. So the information, and it's coming back to you in seconds. It's not taking you a long time to sift through a lot of these things. So because of that, organizing and summarizing information in seconds, implementing clear structure, expectations, and accountability will always be an uphill battle. All right. Because of what I just said, when you try to remove ambiguity from your business and create clear expectations and clear structure and accountability, it's going to be an uphill battle because there are going to be so many different interpretations of what a person is saying, how a person's saying it, what it's all about, what a person wants to do with whatever opportunity is being offered. So when uncomfortable conversations need to happen, and again, this is something that's important because this is what created today's topic, was several uncomfortable conversations that I have had, that I continuously have with the people that I work with every single day. And I welcome these uncomfortable conversations because I know uncomfortable conversations, on the other side of an uncomfortable conversation, there's nothing but growth, there's nothing but opportunity, there's nothing but a situation in which the organization as a whole gets better, right? After you have an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, you really go at them, and I've been in quite a few, as you can tell, and you really go at them and you dig into what their intention was and what that person said and how that person said it and how intensive they can be. At the end of that conversation, then you start to get a clarity, you start to get an understanding. Hey, nobody wants necessarily anything to be bad, for necessarily anything bad to happen. We just have to kind of turn over, flip over some rocks, and then you realize, hey, this person wants the best for them, or this person wants to get the best out of this situation. You want to get the best out of this situation. You have a certain upbringing. That person has a certain upbringing, and then you guys clash until you get to an agreement. That's what life is about. That's how you grow your business. The problem is when you have all of these technological advances and you have so much ambiguity, people just stay in their comfort zone and they avoid actually having to have that uncomfortable conversation. And the longer and longer you wait to have that uncomfortable conversation, the worse your business gets. All right. So when talented up and coming staff member wants your position, when a supervisor makes a weak decision, and I deal with that a lot, when a superior makes a weak decision, people now have options. Hear me. I want this line to really stick. When a talented up-and-coming staff member wants your position, when a superior makes a weak decision, people now have options. All right, they can find a better situation, build their own, use logic and common sense to expose flaws. See, right, I come from the world of education. I'm in the education world fully now. I can fully call them again. Background is athletics, fitness, and education, right? So it is very, very, very easy for me to use logic and common sense. And most of the people that I work with, that I deal with in the education world, this whole common sense thing, the logic and common sense thing, does not work. That is not how they got into the positions that they got into. They got into the position they got into because of a certain doctrine, or because they got a certain master's at a certain place, and they were already only looking for someone that they can roll out to families and sell and say, hey, this person has this master's degree, so now you deserve this salary. But again, somebody that comes from my world, where I had to, create workouts in a parking lot because, something happened, something happened in the gym, and we could, there was a fire. I remember one time there was some sort of fire alarm that was actually hit in the gym, and we had to go outside and create workouts in the parking lot, right? And stuff like that happens, when there's rain outside. Okay, you got to figure out how to have practice in here. And COVID happens, and you got to figure out ways to pivot. In fact, even when I got into what got me in the education world, was I was working at a kindergarten. I spent about a year at two different kindergartens. Yes, one guy in both of these organizations. I was the only guy. And I remember the center director, and so a kindergarten is kind of a glorified educator / daycare place. So I remember the center directors. They were two ladies who I don't know if they had any real formal education. I know they both had to have graduated at least college, but the way they maneuver, the way they, hey, if somebody's out of ratio, they pull this one, and they were doing such a fantastic job that I would be like, man, you have one kid doing this, one kid, and I learned so much in terms of how to manage a group of not only kids, but you have to manage the adults too, because the happy adults, they're leaving for their break and never coming back and all types of crazy shit. So again, when it comes to this one right here, when you use your logic and common sense to expose the flaws of a lot of these quote unquote educated folks, that is where you have that is where we're winning. And that's something I do every single day. We're winning because we use our logic and our common sense. And when technology is made available to us the way it's made available to us, these things can be documented. See, before you couldn't use logic and common sense, you couldn't document it. It couldn't be something that you actually showed to say, hey, this is what I did during this time, and this is why it makes more sense. This is why it's more efficient. No, you couldn't do that before. Now you can do that. Now you can actually go on your phone, go record something on ChatGPT and say, hey, I tried to do this during this time. This didn't work. This person didn't let me. This was the excuse that this person had to make. All this stuff is documented. So we are in an age now where your logic and your common sense needs to be used. And that's a very scary thing for a lot of you folks out there, because a lot of you guys don't fucking use it. You don't use your logic. You don't use your common sense. You need to start using it, because the platform and the way of using it has been made. And it's going to help you in everything. It's going to help you when you're raising your kids. It's going to help you when you're making decisions. It's going to help you when you're making your decisions for what's going to be best for your family. It's going to be helping you when you make your decisions for whatever it is you want to do outside of just a profession. Your logic and your common sense is going to lead you to a lot of great opportunities. Trust me, I've been there, right? So, or the person that quietly outworks you. So here's my point. So when you think about what I just said, right? A superior who makes a weak decision, or who's constantly making weak decisions, or the talented up and coming staff member that wants that position, all those sorts of things, that creates anxiety for leaders. It doesn't lead to a place in which a leader now is secure. It creates more anxiety because now they constantly have to prove themselves, whether the owner or whether the manager, whatever you are. You're constantly being in a position where you have to prove yourself, because you got to prove your worth. You see the people coming up under you; they're not fearing you at this point, and now they're looking at you as a competitor. Again, a competitor that we're gonna go at you, and I'm gonna see if you really earn the position. So They didn't earn, and it's because, and here's the big thing, it's because they didn't earn their position through any level of competence. They earned their position because of the timing, because of the politics behind it, because of their gender, because of their skin color, and favoritism. That's why they earned their position. All right, most of the people that you see in charge, they got there not through their competence, and it's a different world. It's funny because I was having a conversation with my mom last week. It's like, yo, competence is not really common. Actually being good at your job is not really something that people look for anymore. Now it's about how you fit in the organization and can you help them when it comes to all the semantics that they want to put out there, right? So ambiguity protects weak leadership. All right, it does because you can put something out there and the lack of clear structure, there's always going to be some sort of excuse as to why this one didn't get done, because it's always going to be there. But clarity exposes it. That's why ambiguity survives. So social media and AI effect, we touched on it a little bit, right? So we live in a time where no one has to commit. You don't like your situation, you pivot, rebrand, relocate, start over, right? Find a community that agrees with you. The access is empowering, but it's also destabilizing. It's the same thing. It's destabilizing because you're not sticking to anything, right? When structure gets hard, when discipline gets uncomfortable, when policy requires some sacrifice, people retreat into options instead of leaning into responsibility. Ambiguity thrives in environments where feelings outrank structure, titles outrank competence, innovation replaces accountability. All right. And businesses slowly erode from inside. So before I start to talk about the solutions, and tomorrow I'll have a top 5 list of the solutions and how we'll break it down tomorrow. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this out. But I have to actually hold myself accountable, right? And talk to you guys about how I did with it's the final Monday of the month, and I have to show you guys and talk to you guys about how I did when it comes to the goals that I had last month. So what do I give myself? I give myself a B minus, not terrible, not dominant. B minus means progress with leakage, and leakage comes from and leakage usually comes from ambiguity. So let's go back a month from now, a month from today, January 26th, and see what the goals were. I gave myself, let's see, last month we were talking about what does a promotion really look like. And I gave myself a C minus, damn near a D, right? It wasn't the best of months for me. The goal was to walk away. So why did I give myself a B minus for February? Here we go. Secure a new client, properly integrate the new art of living, and create a consistent flow of new audiences. So those were the 3 goals. And let's go back to see how I did. February goals in review. All right, so secure a new client with the right frame. The result, I did not do that. That was not something that got done this month. So after the Arizona event, something clicked. Wealth Builders isn't about getting a client. It's about promoting a philosophy. Viewing people as client was quietly holding me back. When you promote ideas instead of transactions, alignments replace expression. That mindset shift was necessary, but here's the truth. Philosophy without execution equals 0 revenue. So that's on me. Did not do it, did not secure the 1 new client, even though I had a ton of meetings, right? The reason for the B minus grade is because even though I didn't get a new client and had a ton of meetings with the person that introduced me to the business, and I'm getting to a place now where I don't need to have him involved with a lot of my feelings, which is what the ultimate goal is for the 2 of us and myself in the organization and everyone in the organization, to be honest with you. So number 2, properly integrate the new art of living properly. And that was done. I will tell you that. After hours of conversation around this philosophy, I kept flashing back to college, right? Philosophy was one of my concentrations in my multidisciplinary studies degree. The realization hit hard. So this isn't separate from the Move Swiftly platform. So the new art of living and the Move Swiftly platform are pretty much the same thing, the exact same thing. There's three concentrations. So when it comes to the Move Swiftly platform, right, you have skilled, you have your well-informed, you have skilled workers, you have your well-informed workers, you have your frontier workers. 3 categories, and then we try to figure out what is the best way to move these people to the next level. The new art of living focus on 3 different three different concentrations. Making sure people are making multi-handed income, making sure you're understanding the the rules of money, three rules, three goals, three rules, and saving 10%, and then self-improvement. You see how all three of those things actually work they work well together, and how they're constantly complementing each other. Because if you're going to be adding your LY, you're also part of adding your LY is creating multi-handed income. It's also making sure you're saving money. If you're a front team worker and you're not getting paid what you could be getting paid if you're going to be a well-informed worker, okay, make sure you're putting away 10 or 15% of your check so you can, invest that in some information that's going to help you get better. The philosophies are absolutely again, Muslim philosophy I came up with on my own. And the New Art of Living, again, very same philosophy. It's all about continuously self-improvement. And it's crazy how all that kind of came together without me realizing it. So that was something that I really wanted to do, because when you start these ventures, you never want to get too far away from what you know how to speak on, what you know you're going to talk about, what you know you're good at. And that is what I successfully did, is properly, integrate the New Art of Living into the new Swiftly platform and the things that I'm already doing. So it's a bridge. It strengthens leadership, it strengthens discipline, and it strengthens employee development. So, and I integrated it without turning into a salesman. That matters, right? That matters that you are speaking on these things when you're not being asked to speak on it. You're speaking and you're making it part of your regular conversation. That's the key to it. And that's what I encourage all you business owners to do, is to make it so when you speak to your staff, when you speak to your employees, there's a constant need, a constant push for them to improve and get better, not stay the same. Because you don't. You either get better, you either get better, or you get worse every day. You do not stay the same. The staying the same is not an option. All right. So number 3, create a consistent flow of new audiences. And that has done. As you can see, I've got new subscribers. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers here. New live groups at the church, had new conversations. The philosophical layer, I now have a clear path to speak in front of business owners, leaders, organizations that value employee development. So, which happens to be the exact work I actively do. So the pipeline is built. All right, the pipeline is built. So that's where the B- came from. So here we go now. March goes, and then I'll close you guys out. And then again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this out, especially for tomorrow, where we'll be discussing top 5 ways in which you can remove ambiguity from your business. All right. Number 1, same as last month. Get one new client, get one new person involved with what you do. Really, based on the work I was already doing, it's really going to take one person. It's going to take one person, because there was already the work I was doing before that created the opportunity for me. So one new client. So let's go. One new client. March is here. So one new client, because unfinished business linkers and lingering goals create mental drag. So that has to happen this month. So number 2, all right, yeah, this one's big. It's an important one as we're heading into spring. All right, because this is where I trouble streaming and. All right. All right. So save more for a house and an engagement ring. Listen to me. This is very, very, very important. Very important. I want to read it directly so you guys understand why it's important that you look at a house and an engagement ring as pretty much the same expense. All right. You don't want to invest in a house and just live in it by yourself. That's a really, really bad business move and a bad idea. So I won't overshare the details, but I will explain why. A house is stability and an engagement ring is covenant. All right. So both are structured, both are alignment, both are of God. All right. As spring approaches, my life is drastically different than it was a year ago. Hear me. It's drastically different. More money, more of a standard that I'm going to be placing on myself in terms of who I do make my wife and who I do proceed to be. And I'm not going to be, buckle into and lowering what my standard was because of the excitement and because of how lonely I might have felt because of just not being with somebody. I've been there, done that. Last year, if it taught me anything, it was to don't lower your standards just because you want to be with somebody. All right. That was a big lesson that I took in last year. So my life is drastically different than it was a year ago. A year ago, I was entertaining something that wasn't aligned with who I'm becoming. I was tired of being alone. And when you're building, grinding, and leading the way you are, loneliness can whisper loud. All right. So when you're doing what I'm doing every single day and putting it out there, whether it's 0 views or 1,000 views, you're grinding and you're doing what you got to do, the loneliness can get to be absolutely overwhelming. Right. But I learned something critical. A man was never intended to become a father before becoming a husband. A man was never intended. A man is not supposed to become a father before he becomes a husband. A man is not supposed to be a father before he becomes a husband. This is very important lesson. All right. And it seems like a man is never intended to become a father before becoming a husband. Life is hard enough. And if you go buy a house without someone you can build a home with, and we've talked about the difference between a house and a home, you go buy a house with someone that you can't. If you buy a house without someone that you can't build a home with, you create obstacles that quietly sabotage your future. So yes, an engagement ring and a house need to be literally in the same, they need to be coming from the same expense. All right. So there's a quote, JB, and I posted this on my Instagram 2 days ago. Coach JB, one of the few shows that I listen to regularly, I watch regularly. So he said, the worst thing for a man is after he wins is to sit down to eat with a woman that never starved with him. So it's not about money. It's not about heart. It's not about money. That's about shared struggle, shared sacrifice, shared growth. All right. You don't build legacy with someone who only shows up for the harvest. You build with someone who endured the drought. So yes, I have a number. I have a specific number in my mind that I got to get to. That number factors in both a ring, an engagement ring, and the house. All right. In the same sense, again, you can't do one without the other. Don't make that mistake. I'm telling you from experience. All right. It has to be both. It has to be both. All right. Because leadership at home multiplies leadership in business. Peace compounds performance. Chaos drains it. This is not emotional. This is strategic. All right. So that's the goal. The goal is just continue to save more and put more aside for those two things. And then the third goal for March is to integrate the new art of living into my boxing classes, which I've already done. We're starting that up this week. So boxing already teaches discipline, structure, controlled aggression, patience, accountability. Now it becomes philosophical training. Pre-workout mindset talks, post-session reflections, teaching the why behind the discipline, not just stronger bodies, but stronger thinkers. That's brand expansion without chasing attention. So the real lesson, ambiguity destroys businesses, but it also quietly destroys men. If you, it keeps you half committed, half disciplined, half clear. That is not what you want. All right. That's not what you want. If you don't define structure, structure will define you. If you don't lead your month, the month will lead you. Top 5 Tuesday, we'll get surgical on the solutions. All right. Top 5, because there's a top 5 way. There's 5 ways in which you can really create solutions so you don't have to deal too much with this. All right. So all that being said, again, I told you I had a hard out in 30 minutes. I ended up going about a little bit longer. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this out to anybody that needs to listen and tune in tomorrow as we get into those top 5 reasons as to how you can really what you can really be doing to remove the ambiguity from your business. Main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I do with makeyourmove.com. It's MAKEYAMOVE.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.